This is CBC Here and Now.
People are eager for the booster.
I don't want to catch COVID like everybody else. The faster I can get it, the better.
And keep pharmacies and vaccine clinics busy.
I got here about 9:45 this morning.
That's just ahead.
Some heart-melting reunions here at the airport in St. John's today, with a special sense of relief for those arriving before the 3 o'clock 5-day isolation rule kicked in.
To be able to come home and see my mom, it really means the world to me.
I'm Terry Roberts. I'll have that story coming up.
A quiet weather day tomorrow, but watching a storm for Tibb's Eve, which looks like it could be some rain and snow for parts of the province.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain. Well, if you're trying to get your hands or your arms on a booster shot, you're definitely not alone. Vaccine clinics are booked and pharmacies are seeing long lineups. Here and Now's Henrika Wilhelm has the details.
Anyone over 18 can get a booster shot in the province. The health department says 28,184 people have already taken advantage of that. Many more are trying their luck at pharmacies.
I got here about 9:45 this morning, 10 to 10, and they started at 10, and there was already a queue here then.
I came by and I went, anyway, I'm here now, so I guess I'm committed after an hour. Not much point in leaving.
Just wanting to feel more comfortable around family at Christmas time and more confidence.
Wait times at public health vaccine clinics are considerably shorter, but they're appointment only.
I have 2 boys away and we're out around, so I have to make sure, like you say, we're kept healthy. So the faster I can get it, the better.
I guess everybody's aware of what's happening, and so you want to make sure you're protected as much as possible, really, you know.
Oh, I think it's absolutely essential, and I'm pretty sure we're going to do the right thing and comply with everything because it's worked so far very well, and I'm hoping people do the same.
First, pharmacies had issues getting vaccines, but the Pharmacists Association says that is improving. Still, getting a shot at a pharmacy usually takes a bit longer.
Some pharmacies are even hiring nurses to try to keep up with the demand, but there's typically only one clinic room, and we are required to give them in a private setting. So there's only one room, so we can only do one person at a time. So it's not like a public health clinic where we can do, 30, 40 people very quickly.
The association that represents doctors says physicians have been put on standby to help with the booster rollout. Meanwhile, pharmacists are asking for patience.
It's typically the busiest week of the year, so just be patient. And I know that the wait can be a bit frustrating and it can be stressful trying to get in to get your booster when you're being asked to get it. But everybody's just doing the best that they can right now.
Over 25,000 people in the province have already gotten a 3rd shot. That's according to the health department. And with many more lining up hoping to get one as well, the Pharmacists Association say they're working very hard to keep up with the demand. Henrika Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
There are 27 more cases of COVID in the province today. 9 are in Eastern Health, 10 in Central, and 8 in Western. There are currently 175 active cases, and the Western region has the most with a total of 70. Well, take a look at this. This is the last plane to land in St. John's at the St. John's International Airport before today's 3 p.m. quarantine deadline passed. Touchdown with just seconds to spare. It's Air Canada Flight 684 from Toronto, and a lot of people were rooting for that flight to make it in just under the wire. And as you know by now, anyone arriving after that 3 p.m. deadline will have to isolate for 5 days. And with the holidays upon us, that means some extra special reunions, and on the other side, extra special disappointment for travelers who were just too late. Here now's Terry Roberts reports.
Comes Kenny. Here comes Claire.
This reunion scene at St. John's Airport today was more than 2 years in the making. Ken and Kim Slade and their 2 teenage children stepping off a plane from Halifax and into the arms of family from Carbonear who weren't sure this would even happen.
The emotions are starting to overwhelm me right now. Starting to get... I know. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah.
It means a lot.
I was holding my breath right up until this morning when he told me he was on the plane. And then I was able to relax somewhat.
An embrace and a group photo outside the terminal, just a few hours before a new isolation rule for travelers kicked in.
I feel really bad for my friends in Nova Scotia that had plane tickets, but couldn't get things rearranged for them to be able to spend time with their family this Christmas. But I get to spend time with my mom, and that means the world to me.
We were doing the countdown, we were watching the news, and it was quite stressful. I gotta say, it's been some sleepless nights trying to figure out if we're actually going to make it home again this year after canceling last year. So it's pretty exciting to be home. Yeah.
All the uncertainty made this reunion even more special.
We can just celebrate, enjoy Mom's good cooking. That is always a good thing, but the most important to know that you're home, to spend time with us. I've been bragging to all my friends that I get to be with my family for Christmas, and it's just so happy to be here.
I'm a teenager and I've got a couple of gray hairs from the countdown. Very stressful time, and just to be here with my family, it's truly something special.
An SUV loaded up with luggage.
My sister's for mimosas.
And a jubilant family with a full schedule ahead. It's been a bittersweet day for some families here at the airport. I spoke to a man with one daughter who arrived before 3 o'clock and a second daughter who's scheduled to arrive later this evening, which means one will have to isolate for 5 days, the other will not. Just another example of how this pandemic and its sometimes arbitrary rules have made life so challenging for all of us. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, temperatures this morning not quite as cold through parts of Central as we saw the other morning, but let's take a look at those temperatures as you walked out the door into the minus single digits for the majority of the island, except through Central, where we saw minus 10 in Gander, minus 14 in Badger this morning, and those temperatures into the minus 20s for Labrador. Now, if we take a look at what's happening right now, area of high pressure dominating the weather across most of the province, but we are watching that warm front move in, and it will likely spark some showers as we head through the evening hours tonight for some areas. And then the next weather maker moves in. This one's already starting to get organized over Florida, and that's going to be our weather maker for Tibb's Eve, already prompting some wind warnings along southern Newfoundland, as well as some special weather statements. Same thing up across Labrador, where we could see some significant snow with this one. I'll break those details down for you when I come back.
Well, to a story now that hasn't received as much attention, possibly because of all the COVID news, an update of sorts. The Roman Catholic Archdiocese in St. John's has filed for bankruptcy protection, and that move will keep their creditors at bay while local church leaders try to figure out how best to stay afloat and pay off debts. Last year, a court ruled that the Archdiocese was liable for crimes committed at the Mount Cashel orphanage from the 1940s to the 1960s. Archbishop Peter Hunt wrote in a news release this afternoon that this move to satisfy claims will involve marketing some of the diocese and parish properties, and that includes church buildings. Well, Doug Snellgrove is being released from prison, which means he will be home for the holidays. The disgraced Royal Newfoundland Constabulary officer was granted bail today pending the appeal of his sexual assault conviction. Malone Mullen explains.
Doug Snellgrove may have left court today in handcuffs, but he won't be in them for long. He's been sent home from prison for the holidays while he waits for a decision on his appeal, which could mean getting a shorter sentence or even a fourth trial. The police officer was sentenced in November to 4 years behind bars. He was convicted of sexually assaulting a young woman while on duty. His first 2 trials were tossed out because of judicial errors. Now he's arguing that the judge in his third trial also made mistakes, and if the Court of Appeal finds those errors fatal, he could find himself facing yet another jury after spending only a matter of weeks in jail for his crime. While he waits for his appeal, Snellgrove isn't allowed to leave the province, but he is allowed to roam relatively freely around St. John's and can leave the capital city if he gets a job elsewhere in Newfoundland and Labrador. A date for his appeal hearing hasn't yet been set. Malone Mullen, CBC News, St. John's.
A bit of bad news for local basketball fans. The Newfoundland Rogues are postponing the next 2 series, which included games against the Baltimore Hawks as well as the Georgia Soul. Well, today the team said it made the decision reluctantly while the Rogues wait for more information on the unfolding COVID situation and the new enhanced restrictions for out-of-province travelers, the opposing ball teams. The Rogues say they'll have more information for ticket holders soon. Well, Corner Brook is slated to get a new recreation centre in 2023 with a modern gymnasium, a fitness centre, as well as a pool. But the local swim club worries that bureaucratic details and delays could be a problem. Here Now's Colleen Connors has more from the West Coast.
These concept pictures from the city show what the new rec centre may look like summer 2023. It will be on Grenfell campus, with a lap pool, leisure pool, fitness centre, daycare, the list goes on. But the Corner Brook Rapids Swim Club members worry it may be delayed, and the building could end up costing more than originally thought.
We're just really anxious to get moving and see some work start.
Council is yet to approve a land lease agreement with MUN, so construction can start here, at the entrance of the old Grenfell pool that closed down in 2016 due to high costs to restore. There's a deadline for mid-January that would lock in a price the contractor has already committed to. The mayor says council will give it the go-ahead before the new year, possibly before the holiday break.
No, I'm very confident it's going to happen. This is a fantastic project. It's the right project. Council has expressed a lot of support for the project right across the board. So it's just a matter of getting these little bureaucratic things out of the way.
In the meantime, groups like the swim club are fighting for pool time at the one facility that is still open in the city. It's closed right now for maintenance.
We're struggling to get equal hours in the pool, similar to other clubs that we then have to compete against. So it makes it difficult sometimes.
When competitive swimmers compete in other cities, they realize what they are missing.
I talked to a bunch of people from other teams, and they're swimming 9-10 times a week, getting loads of hours in the pool. We get 7 practices a week. I'm thankful for my 7 hours or 7 days a week I swim, or 7 times a week I swim, but it'd be nice to be able to do more.
But Flynn and dozens like him will have to wait for almost 2 years before they can access the $25 million facility. $5 million contributed from the city, that the mayor says is the single biggest infrastructure project dollar-wise that the city has done.
We get an immense amount of value through using some of the old facility, but what you're going to see is something that's going to be with us for 5 decades.
Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
A campaign called In This Together has raised $5 million for a new chemotherapy unit at the Dr. H. Bliss Murphy Centre, with donations pouring in from all over the province. The new unit is more than 10,000 square feet with an in-house pharmacy to mix medications on site. And Here Now got a tour to see how the project is progressing.
Okay, so if you were a patient coming in here, you would come in through this link, you come out right here.
We're here to tour the new chemotherapy unit at the Dr. H. Bliss Cancer Murphy Centre. It's about a 10,000 square foot extension, and we'll see the replacement of the existing chemo suite, which is about 3,000 square feet. So we're actually almost tripling the size of the existing unit.
This is the first treatment area here. This is a little bit open. We have a seating track going in here, and we have space for 3 beds.
We've been at this now for a number of years, and it started off with a vision of our executive director, Lynette Hillier, in working with the provincial government and with Eastern Health to put together the vision and the concept of what we were trying to do here.
So this is a point-of-care station. There will be a nurse person right here who would look after the patient that's sat in a chair in behind this room, or this area here.
It's amazing. I mean, to be able to come in here this evening and see the features that you were so excited to fundraise for and to ask people to support. So to see those pods and how they're going to provide such privacy to patients and their families, and how it's going to be such an enhanced level of care for those families, it's so exciting to see.
This is really about making sure cancer patients get the very, very best treatment. And this is going to raise the bar for cancer patients. It's going to make their experience and their outcomes so much better.
So if someone needs to be treated but needs some privacy and so on, this is where they will go.
I mean, last year we announced that we achieved the $5 million goal to build the unit, and that came from every corner of Newfoundland and Labrador. There will be 1 in 2 people in Newfoundland and Labrador diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. And this is the unit that's going to serve us for the next 25 to 30 years. So to be able to do the planning, to be able to how we meet the demand there will be in cancer care for the next 20 years is exciting, and it's so gratifying to see it come so close.
This year, we're connecting more, we're sharing more, and we're helping more. This season, whatever kind of season you make it, make the season kind.
Well, all month, CBC&L has been encouraging you to help make the season kind with our annual Feed NL fundraiser in support of the local food banks in our province. And another generous donation today. Take a look with a $25,000 donation from Mary Browns. Thank you so much for the generosity. Now, we've been hearing that our local organizations need people's help more than ever this year. And talking about support, you've already helped raise more than $231,000, and that's still counting. That's for the Community Food Sharing Association. That's an impressive increase from last year's total of $194,000, and there's still time left to donate. If you've been putting it off, still time. Head to our website, cbc.ca/bekind for the details. Well, today is the winter solstice, the longest night of the year and the official beginning of winter. Starting tomorrow, the days will start getting longer little by little.
For those of you that are waiting for a white Christmas, some of you are definitely going to see that with some significant snowfall, but also some windy conditions. I'll break the full forecast down for you coming up.
I'm Chrissy Holmes. Hope you can join us New Year's Eve for a special look back at some of our very favorite stories from 2021.
Miss Hillings.
What?
I actually won the Bro Challenge.
You what?
Every single message meant the world to us.
I graduated from Bishop's College in '66.
I always loved working at the video shop, and I've missed it ever since.
Join us for a special New Year's Eve edition of Here and Now, Friday, December 31st.
Well, it's the first day of winter. The winter solstice happened midday today. And when we talk about places in the world that align with the solstices, Stonehenge might come to mind. Well, how about the St. John's Basilica? Local historian John Fitzgerald started to wonder why certain windows there were positioned the way they were. And he recently spoke with Wham's CBC Weekend radio host, Heather Barrett.
Why are they there and not somewhere else in the building? So then I sent an email to Randy Dodge, who's the head of computing at Memorial University, but also the chair of the St. John's chapter of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. And I said, Randy, if you were standing in a certain spot on the summer solstice or the winter solstice, I thought I'd just check this out, where would the sun rise and set? And he sent me back a map showing that on the winter solstice, the sun rises almost directly in front of the building, and at the summer solstice, it goes down through the center window in the back behind over the other pipe organ, behind the altar. And I was gobsmacked. And I said, you mean to tell me that this thing is aligned with the solstices? And the answer is yes.
John Fitzgerald's discovery about the Basilica's solstice orientation has caught the attention of academics outside the province as well. And Chrissy Holmes will explore that part of the story tomorrow on Here and Now. December 21st, just 4 days to Christmas. Not a bad start for the official beginning of winter. It was a little warmer, I think, than might be the case oftentimes this time of year. Ashley's there at home with the safety because of the COVID regulations. Ashley.
Yes, I am, and decided to step outside tonight since it's such a beautiful evening. Few flakes flying at the moment, and not a bad day out there today. Temperatures a little bit below seasonal, in fact. Let's take a look at those temperatures across the board. Sitting around -3 as a daytime high in St. John's, and we've got those similar temperatures pretty much across the board, except along southern areas of the island where temperatures climbed around 2 to 3 degrees this afternoon, and then into the minus teens across most of Labrador this afternoon as well. Now, we are sitting under a ridge of high pressure at the moment, and that is funneling some of that colder air, but you see that warm front there? Anything below that where we're seeing that southerly flow is where we're seeing those temperatures climb up above zero, and we're expecting that to continue as we head through the evening hours tonight. Now, as far as winds go, sustained around 20 to 30 kilometers per hour. Port aux Basques right now about sustained winds 52 kilometers per hour. So that is leading to a bit of a wind chill out there. Currently hovering around 0 degrees for Port aux Basques, and your wind chill feeling more like -8. And then in St. John's, we're seeing the wind chill values in and around -9 as we speak, and that will generally actually going to see a little bit of a warm up over the next couple of hours. Anyway, we should see that temperature climb up above zero as we get into the overnight, and we could see the potential for a few showers in the mix. But higher elevations for eastern areas of the island could pick up a quick couple of centimeters. Otherwise, it will be fairly quiet, especially as we head towards midnight with a few flurries sticking around, likely only for the west coast as we get into the early morning hours. So taking a look at the forecast for tonight. So like I said, climbing another degree 2 or 2 tonight, and then dropping back down below zero. But you'll also note those winds are going to pick up, and they will be out of the west about 40 to 70 kilometers per hour. And then as far as Labrador goes, we are looking at temperatures into the -20s. Hovering around -16 for Cartwright under partly cloudy skies tonight. So there's the snowfall amounts, like I was saying, generally light, trace to 2 centimeters, some pockets of 2 to 5, and in the higher elevations on the west coast, you could pick up about 5 to 10 centimeters by the time we get through to tomorrow morning. Other than that, a few flurries may linger in the morning for the west, but it should be actually a pretty nice day tomorrow with sunshine into the afternoon. However, we will see those clouds on the increase as the day goes on for Lab West, with the potential for some flurries or light snow moving in, and then we'll see those clouds on the increase across the island as well. And again, that is ahead of our next weather maker, which will move in Wednesday night into Thursday and continue for a good chunk of the day. Now, as far as temperatures go tomorrow, we should be sitting well below zero, and then the winds will be a little bit breezy in the morning out of the northwest, about 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. But these temperatures here along southern areas of the island will increase as we head through the evening hours into Thursday morning even. And then as far as Labrador goes, here temperatures will be into the minus teens right across the board with sunshine, except for some flurries for Lab City into the afternoon. Now, we do have the wind warnings in effect for southern areas of the island. Now, this is ahead of that weather maker that's going to move in, as well as a wreck house warning. So if we just time that out, it does look like the winds will pick up late day Wednesday with gusts between 50 to 70 kilometers per hour, and then even more so as we head through the overnight. So winds will be gusting. A good chunk of southern Newfoundland will be seeing between 80 to 90 kilometers per hour. Wreck house area significantly more than that, maybe 120, 130 kilometers per hour. And that is going to continue through a good chunk of Thursday as well, with some windy conditions pretty much right across the board. Now, some of you are going to see snow. Some of you are going to see a changeover to rain. And again, those windy conditions, but I'll get into all those details and break down as much as I can when I come back.
All right, thanks, Ashley. Well, for about 5 years now, a team of researchers and scientists have been trying to establish a whale sanctuary somewhere in North America, and now they've found the spot. It's a tiny community in Nova Scotia. They say it's the ideal location to rescue former marine park mammals. But as Kayla Hounsell explains, there are concerns about just how they're going to pull this off.
There could be orcas and belugas jumping here in Port Hilford Bay by the spring of 2023. At least, that's what Charles Vinnick is hoping.
So we looked at over 130 sites in British Columbia, Washington State, and here in Nova Scotia.
Because of its size, depth, and shelter from storms, he says this bay is perfect for his team's whale sanctuary project, a new home for whales that have been performing at marine parks.
It's so much more high-quality life with natural seawater, with critters on the bottom with which they can interact, with waves and nature that allow them to swim more than a couple of body lengths, to dive that they can never do in a tank.
So far, this welcome center is the only thing that's actually been built.
Now, this is an artist's rendering, but it is the plan for how the nets will encircle 100 acres of water space.
It's a wonderful idea.
This UBC scientist supports the idea in principle, but has concerns about where the group will come up with the money to pull it off.
When you care for a marine mammal, you're caring for a child, and that's a long-term commitment, and they're long-lived too.
Vinnick says it will take around $15 million to get the project off the ground, plus $2 million a year to keep it going. He says the money will come entirely from private donations, and his group has raised $3 million.
Nova Scotia's Department of Natural Resources confirms it has received a request to lease Crown lands, but says a lease has not been issued, and all of the appropriate reviews and assessments are still in progress. Vinnick says it's slower than he'd like, but acknowledges nothing like this has ever been done anywhere in North America.
So it's a step-by-step process to identify what's unique about this project and how to apply the regulations that exist to something that's this unusual and unique.
Vinnick also admits he doesn't have a commitment from any marine park to let their whales come here. Still,
I can see it. I mean, I can feel those whales out there jumping in these waves and being part of it.
But he insists his commitment isn't just emotional, and he has every intention of seeing the project through to help create a better life for captive marine mammals. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Port Hilford Bay, Nova Scotia.
Busy time of year for the Newfoundland and Labrador Liquor Corporation. The NLC and other government assets are under review to see whether the government should sell them. No question the province needs cash, but what might privatization mean for public sector workers? And will we see a reliable cost-benefit analysis in 2022? Tonight, part 2 of my year-end conversation with Jerry Earle, the president of NAPE.
I have great fears where this government, the road that they're on, I think this consultant that they've hired at a cost of $5 million, Newfoundland and Labradorians, is just to come in and give, in the simplest terms, the blessing to a plan that this government has. So I'm very concerned what they may have planned. And what I remind people is the NLC belongs to us, Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. It year over year produces revenue that pays for a whole number of things Newfoundland and Labrador. And I think it would be, I don't want to say a major mistake to look at privatizing something like the Newfoundland Liquor Corporation.
But if it were privatized, the government would still collect the tax, right? So
they'll collect the tax, but tax is only one component. There's revenue that's generated from sales across Newfoundland and Labrador, not just with alcohol.
So the profit.
The profit margins itself.
Yeah.
And some are saying, well, yes, and I think the Premier said we'll pay it right on our death. I'm not an accountant, but I think if you look at what we have to look at then is next year, when we don't have the full value of the revenue that we've had for the last decade or 2 decades, how do you make up that revenue? Because it's going to be a short-term gain. They may get X number of dollars and pay it on the debt, but I've heard some people already say it's going to save X number of $1 million per year in interest, but it's not going to offset in anywhere near the revenue that we've seen come in.
But has anybody looked, you take a look at, a gigantic supermarket with a gigantic NLC next to it, like all of those large buildings, I mean, they have to be worth something, right? So you're saying that whatever they're worth, they're not worth selling.
It's not just not worth selling. Obviously, that's why government's trying to sell it, because it is worth something. But it's worth something to Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. We have enjoyed the benefit of these revenues for decades. They help pay for, like I said, our healthcare, our education, our roads, or those that are socially disadvantaged. So if you take away that revenue stream, you've got to find another way to make it up. So is it greater taxation on Newfoundlanders and Labradorians? Because Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, some think we're going to see a cheaper product available. I think it was Tom Cooper at Munn said in an interview he actually anticipates an increase in prices,
right,
and less products available. So that's what a lot of people look at, well, it's going to be cheaper. No, it's not. And again, what some of these big businesses will do, they're going to look at the brands that are being bought, and they're not going to bring in things that are not being sold or of not great value. So they're going to really narrow the products that would be available. We've seen that happen in other provinces.
So during the pandemic, we saw liquor sales go up dramatically.
Yes.
So that would obviously contribute more money to provincial coffers. And it seems as though year after year, liquor sales keep increasing.
Yes.
So ironically, I don't want to play to any Newfoundland stereotypes, but it seems as though there's no reason to suspect for that growth to stop.
It's very unlikely. Now, there's a number of things going to impact.
We're just going to keep drinking more.
And like I say, I've heard some experts talk about 10 years out, and because we know the demographics in the provinces, people age, will they be able to afford, and will the profits continue 15, 20 years out? Like, we don't have a crystal ball to know that, but I'd suggest you've seen it the last decade. Every year there's been increments. This year I think it's in around $210 million that's been returned to Newfoundlanders. And I keep saying, we own these stores. Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, this is our asset, and it returns value to our province and to service that we rely on every day. So if you had something personally that was creating money for you year over year, why would you sell it? Because it is. Newfoundlanders really have to realize this is a public entity that they own, that we're going to turn over to now big business. It could be at the province in all likelihood, and we would have no say, no control, and we would not know what's happening with that money because it becomes theirs other than the taxation component.
Last question for you, because it sounds to me from everything you've said, 2022, the NLC is kind of that line in the sand.
Absolutely.
For you. Like you're
absolutely.
Because the government says it's looking at everything it can sell. The NLC is kind of, it looks like you guys are red circling this, that this is going to be something you're willing to fight on, right?
We have clearly said to the minister, and I'd say it again to the minister and the premier, we will stand up for the employees that work in this sector. They have been there for us every single day. They contribute to our communities across Newfoundland and Labrador, and my message to the government is that NAPE will stand up for not only this public service, but the registries and others if they try to infringe on this profit-making services that Newfoundlanders and Labradorians own. Yes, NAPE will do everything in our power to educate the public and to push back against this government's agenda started by Moya Green.
All right, Jerry Earl, on that note, I'll raise a toast to your health.
Visual toast.
And all the best over the holidays to you and all the members of NAPE, and we'll see you in 2022.
And to you, Anthony, and your co-workers and all Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, hopefully.
This season, we want to be together, and magically, we are.
That magic, that energy, what we're doing is actually making a difference.
You have the right to eat. You have the right to food.
We feel a real responsibility. We've been in this community for a long, long time.
This season, whatever kind of season you make it, make the season kind.
Conservation officers are warning of a wolf near Happy Valley Goose Bay. Officers have increased patrols in the area, and people are strongly encouraged to take appropriate steps to avoid attracting the wolf to residential properties. That includes keeping your pets indoors or under close supervision and properly storing any garbage. Any wolf sightings in the Happy Valley Goose Bay area should be reported to the Northwest River Forest Management Office. Well, to Nova Scotia now, where that province reported 522 new cases of COVID-19 today. That's nearly 2,600 cases in just the past 6 days. Officials announced new updated health measures to combat the spike earlier. Now, they come into effect at 6 a.m. tomorrow and include limiting gatherings to 10 people.
What you shouldn't do is put yourself in a situation where you find out you've got COVID and then you're running through, who did I see yesterday? Who did I see the day before? Who did I see before that? And you have this massive list of friends and family that you then have to lay and agonize over with whether you've infected them with COVID. So what you should do is limit your contacts and slow down. That's the way we stop, that's the way we will slow the spread.
Well, meanwhile, Prince Edward Island is bringing in a travel quarantine tomorrow, similar to the one in this province, but it's for 4 days instead of 5. Everyone who arrives will be given 2 rapid tests to be done on day 2 and day 4. And if both tests are negative, then that person can leave isolation. If a person chooses to move into a household, everyone in that household must also self-isolate. Well, Canada's top doctor is making a direct appeal to everyone, saying that we all need to act together to slow the Omicron surge down. Right now, the spike in new cases nationwide is the highest ever. More than 10,000 cases reported just yesterday. But there is some good news. According to one infectious disease specialist, we've been through this before and now know what can be done to slow the surge once again.
We know masks are helpful, they're not perfect. We know rapid tests, if you're getting people together, are helpful, but of course they're not perfect. We know better ventilated spaces are helpful, they're not perfect. We know about keeping our gatherings small. I mean, it's just, really, there's not a ton new apart from a new variant that's very, very transmissible. But the tools that we have are still extremely helpful. Vaccines. People are acting like the vaccines don't work anymore. That's not true. Of course they work.
Now, Dr. Theresa Tam is urging caution when it comes to holiday gatherings. She's warning people to reduce contacts now before hospitals get overwhelmed. There are about 1,500 people currently hospitalized with COVID-19 in this country. Now, the peak was just over 4,900 in January of this year. Now, as we've been reporting, anyone arriving in Newfoundland and Labrador after 3 p.m. today will have to self-isolate for 5 days and take a daily rapid test for each of those 5 days. For anyone wondering how to use one of those at-home kits correctly, CBC asked a pharmacist in Edmonton to walk us through the process.
So in front of me here, I have the Rapid Response COVID-19 antigen test kit. So this is the rapid antigen test kits that are part of the take-home program. So this here is the nasal swab. So this is actually the swab that's going to be going into the nostril. This here is your buffer solution. So this solution is squeezed into the extraction tube that you see here on the stand. So we squeeze the buffer solution into the extraction tube, and that's where we collect the specimen. This here is your cassette. We place the drops onto this cassette, and this is where we actually find out whether we're screened positive or negative for carrying the virus. You're going to tilt your head back slightly, just at about a 70-degree angle. You're going to gently insert the swab into your nostril about ½ an inch up, and for 5 to 10 seconds, you're going to swirl. Okay, after you swirl, you're going to compress your nostril and rotate that swab for another 5 to 10 seconds. Okay, so now you're going to take it out and you're going to insert your swab into your extraction tube, and you're going to actually tilt it a little bit so that the entire swab is submerged in that solution. And now you want to actually swirl it and mix it in there and squeeze the tube as well so that you're getting the entire content submerged in there. Yeah. And you're going to put 3 drops right into the cassette there where you see the picture of the drops. Now we set a 15-minute timer. You are clear. Congratulations. You have a negative result. There is nothing in your test line. Your control line is there, so we did the test correctly. You did the test correctly. So congratulations for that. You now officially know how to self-administer a rapid antigen test.
And if you feel that swab behind your eyeball, you've gone a little too far. Some of the things that we've seen this year. All right, let's get back to the holidays. The holiday season means a debate sometimes whether it should be a star on top of a tree or an angel? Well, for many Canadians, we'll be putting up Christmas trees, and with that, another debate is underway, whether to buy a real tree or an artificial one. And it's left many people looking for answers in the midst of a climate change crisis. The CBC's Aaron Collins has the details on the carbon price of your Christmas tree.
Scouts have been selling Christmas trees in this Calgary lot for nearly 60 years.
We have people that have been coming here. It's their family tradition, and they come here every year for decades.
And what makes a great Christmas tree hasn't really changed much.
Big puffy ones and nice tall ones.
Tall and puffy.
Puffy and tall.
But in the midst of a climate crisis, there are some new considerations too. Like, is it still okay to use a real tree at all?
Absolutely. If you're replacing a fake tree every couple years because the lights go or it's starting to lose its bushiness, that's a cost to the environment right there.
So what is better for the environment? Real trees like these or an artificial one like this? This expert has crunched the numbers.
In most cases across Canada, I would say that a real tree has the edge. It's a little bit better for the environment.
Well, turns out a real Christmas tree can have a lower carbon footprint if it's grown responsibly and locally, unless...
If you're going to go with an artificial tree, the trick is to hold on to it for at least that decade or 12 years or so in order to offset that footprint.
And what about that family trip to the bush to cut down your own Christmas tree?
Taking the occasional tree out here and there helps the forest. It manages the forest, lets the other trees get bigger and stronger.
So cutting down the right tree makes all the difference.
If we're looking at a grouping of trees like this, which one would make sense to harvest?
Here we have a little cluster of 3 trees. Ideally, you take 2 of those out. The third one has a great chance to grow and become strong. Social distancing for trees.
One final tip for a greener Christmas: if you do get a real tree when the holidays are over, make sure to recycle it. So if you're looking for a Christmas tree and to protect the environment this holiday season, heading out to a place like this and cutting down your own just might be your best bet. Aaron Collins, CBC News, west of Calgary.
this special bird is going to come fly to your house and bring you good luck.
Christmas is different in Tanzania.
The cheesiest, most fun Christmas songs.
There was a rubber boot in there and just all this junk.
Mummers! Mummers! What is mummers?
Spreading that tradition, sharing it with our friends.
A little bit of joy and a little bit of dancing.
It took me forever to try to figure it out, but...
Not much has changed, Brett.
No.
Well, it's time to start talking about the Tibbs Eve forecast, which looks like that's when our next weather maker is going to move in. Here's an idea roughly of what will happen as we head through Wednesday night into Thursday. Now, it does look like mostly snow for the northern peninsula and all of Labrador, with some windy conditions as well. So snow and blowing snow expected in that time frame. Now, again, things may change because there's quite a bit of discrepancy in the models right now as far as exactly where this storm is going to track. What I have in there in the pink is the potential for some shovelable snow, and then transitioning through to rain and drizzle. You could see some ice pellets in the mix with that as well. And then southern areas as well as eastern Newfoundland likely going to see either freezing rain or ice pellets to start, and then that will transition to rain as we head through a good chunk of Thursday. So definitely going to try and get some more detail for you over the next day or so, but temperatures do look like most areas will see that temperature rise up above zero and or hover in and around there for Labrador as we head through the day on Thursday. And again, windy conditions expected for most of the province. And then as we head into Thursday evening and then Friday morning, that area of low pressure is going to stick around, and it does look like we're going to see some significant snow for areas in Labrador along with some windy conditions, and we could see some blowing snow, reduced visibilities for sure, potentially even some blizzard conditions. Going to keep an eye on that one as we head through the day on Friday. And this area of low pressure really sticks around for a few days. It doesn't really go anywhere, but as we get through the day on Friday, those temperatures are going to drop back below zero. So areas in western Newfoundland will likely see that onshore snow continue for a good chunk of Friday. Maybe a few peaks of sun I have in there in the mix for St. John's, but overall it will be an unsettled day. Now, as we head through Friday, also going to look at some windy conditions continuing for Saturday and Sunday. At this point, temperatures below zero, so we could potentially see a white Christmas in eastern Newfoundland, depending on how much falls, but temperatures will be below zero with that chance of flurries really continuing through Sunday. For central Newfoundland, you're looking at a similar temperature profile as far as Saturday and Sunday goes, with maybe a few peaks of sun on Saturday, and then staying in that onshore flow with flurries right through Sunday for western Newfoundland. And then for eastern Labrador, you're looking at windy conditions right through Friday. Again, Saturday maybe tapering to some flurries, but some snow will return again on Sunday. Temperatures hovering in and around zero, a few degrees above or a few degrees below zero for eastern Labrador. And then western Labrador will be up above as well, but you're looking at some sun in the mix for the weekend. Had to share this photo. Harborside Park, this is either today or yesterday morning in St. John's. Thank you so much for sharing that great shot with us. If you have any weather photos, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Great shot, whether it was yesterday or today. Thank you very much, Fleur. Now, as we pointed out tonight, winter has officially arrived. We've talked about the solstice as we pander to our pagan viewers. And as the mercury drops, many of us look beyond the temperature reading and we wonder, what does it actually feel like? Not the numbers, what does it feel like? CBC meteorologist Christy Kleimenhage looks at the heated debate, does wind chill actually matter?
Wind chill. For some, it's the be-all, end-all term that matters, and for others, it's just a made-up number. So what is the truth about wind chill? Let's clear up some misconceptions. Up first, wind chill doesn't exist. While it is different than temperature, wind chill is a real value calculated using the temperature and the wind speed to give you an idea of what it feels like on your skin when you step outside. Next up, you should always dress by the thermometer. You may say that the temperature is only -5, I don't need a hat, and that might be true if it's a calm day, but if that wind starts picking up, I can tell you from experience, frostbite is no joke. What that wind chill value is really telling you is how fast your skin will freeze. So if your wind chill is about -30, it only takes 10 to 30 minutes for you to get frostbite. If it's a really cold and blustery day and that wind chill's up to -50, frostbite can happen in just minutes. Wind chill doesn't affect objects. Wind chill isn't as relevant when you're looking at inanimate objects. I mean, you don't have to worry about your car getting frostbite, but it can cool things down a little bit faster if it's warmer than the air outside. Kind of like blowing on a hot cup of coffee to cool it down so you can drink it a little faster. Now, that being said, if it's -5 degrees out, but the wind chill's -20, do you need to plug it in? Well, no. The object will never cool down more than that outside air temperature. If your car's been sitting outside and it's already -5, that wind can blow all at once. Your car's staying at -5. Extreme cold warnings ignore wind chill. Environment Canada does factor in wind chill when it's issuing its extreme cold warnings, but depending on where you are, you may see that warning a little later or sometimes not at all. In Alberta and southern Saskatchewan, you need a wind chill or temperature of -40 for at least 2 hours before you see a warning. But in Toronto, that number jumps down to -30. Some people just use the wind chill to exaggerate how cold it is. This is definitely true, and maybe we're all a little guilty of exaggerating things a little bit when we're recounting our winters, but because of the dangers that come with cold temperatures and extremely cold wind chills, even if the term can be used to blow things a little bit out of proportion, if it stops people from getting frostbite, it's probably worth it.
Yeah. Now, who exaggerates wind chill? Meteorologists, that's who. Actually, I probably would have failed Christy's quiz if I had to do that. But anyway, some interesting facts about wind chill and what you may have thought or not thought. Well, listen, as we head in closer and closer to Christmas, I know it's a difficult time, and we here at CBCNL want to hear your stories. If you're in a situation where maybe you got somebody home just before the 3 p.m. deadline today, or maybe you're looking at in some ways, the joy of having to self-isolate with somebody who will be home for the holidays but didn't make it in before the deadline. We'd love to hear from you. Send us an email at hereandnow.nl@cbc.ca, and perhaps we'll be able to do an interview with you and get your story on our program. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you tomorrow.